Alrighty, good evening, everyone. I am WCIA-3 meteorologist Seth Bonoff, hopping here on our digital platforms to provide a little coverage on some of the severe storms in the area, which isn't very widespread right now, so that's good. But there's several things happening within these storms, even outside of these storms, that are triggering some impacts here across the area. So we decided to hop on here, provide some of the coverage with what we're seeing. We've got me in here, Adam's in here as well. We've got meteorologist Jacob Dickey out there in the storm tracker. We'll be taking a look and hopefully hearing from him here throughout this stream as well. So just wanted to provide this coverage to you. Before I get too far, just want to make sure if anyone is able to leave a comment. If audio is good, if video is good, then we can make sure we can get going here with the storm coverage as long as all the logistics are all figured out here. So just real quick, while we're waiting on some responses from that, looking across the area here on a radar picture, you don't see a whole lot in the way of actual storm coverage. There's very few. These are highly scattered, isolated storms along this cold front, perhaps even behind the cold front here in a few cases that are bringing the warnings here to the area. Pretty much anywhere there is a storm, there is a warning right now. But there's a lot of us that aren't being impacted here at the moment. But this is a very strong front, and it's producing some strong winds. And that's why, okay, it looks like we're all getting the audio side of things here, so I'll make sure that we keep moving here. So we zoom in on everything. We see these storms, but there's some weird warning boxes go on here, ones that just look a little unusual compared to what we're used to. For example, this one across McLean County. Doesn't really look like there's a crazy storm in there that would warrant a huge countywide warning, but we've got this cold front that's moving on through here across parts of, let's say, northern Champaign, northern Vermilion counties right now, kind of where the placement of that is. It's such a strong front. It's generating some strong winds, and it's starting to kick up some dust in the fields. So that is something that we're continuing to monitor as well. So we've got those severe thunderstorm warnings out there right now, but I also want to bring up this just came in not too long ago, a blowing dust advisory until 9 p.m. That's a lot of counties highlighted in the area. That's not to say it's going to happen everywhere, but they've seen enough of that dust kicking up to where they say, as long as this front keeps pushing south, you're going to see some of that dust here in a couple of places. So be mindful of that. If you're out traveling here on this Thursday evening, or if you know someone that is, there are some bad visibility spots here right now. We've even seen a few from Jacob's camera. So we are just making sure that information is out there for you. Be very safe here if you need to go anywhere at this moment in time. I talked about a cold front here. Let's bring that up real quick. I'll show you where things are at here on our temperature map. Look at this. It's still 85 in Champaign. I just looked at Willard's thing, their observations. They're still into the mid-80s. But just in the northern parts of town, maybe even, or especially up there in the northern part of the county, it's really cooled down. Meteorologist Jacob Dickey during the 5 o'clock news said temperature dropped all the way down to 60-something, if not the upper 50s out there between Rantoul and Thomasboro. He says it's 50 right now in Rantoul where he's at. So we've got a 35-degree difference here from Champaign to Rantoul, and you know that's not that big of a distance here between here and there. But as this cold front continues to push on through, we get that cooler air, we get that more stable air. That's going to prevent anything from being surface-based, and I've talked a lot tonight about storms that are surface-based and storms that are elevated. That may not make a whole lot of sense to you at first, but it's a pretty simple explanation. When storms are surface-based, they've got these air parcels that are starting right at the ground. There's that connection between the storm and the surface. That's where you can get your more tornadic storms, the ones that rotate a little easier. Those are your surface-based storms. You need this warm, unstable air to do that. You can still get storms that can still produce hail and still produce strong winds in an elevated storm, but you're disconnected from the surface. You don't have that storm-to-surface connection that you need for that tornado to form. So as this front pushes on through, tornado threat goes down, and we are hopefully going to have that front push through quick enough here tonight to where we don't really have to worry about that too much. All right, all that in mind, let's take a look at that radar again. We're not seeing anything crazy in the way of these storms acting up here just yet. We're keeping an eye on things. Probably some decent hail within some of these storms. I think we've had maybe just slightly larger than quarter-size hail be sent in, be reported. A handful of these storms now just reported for quarter-size hail. That's the case out here closer to Bloomington and Normal. And for this warning across parts of northern Champaign and northern Vermilion counties, if we take a look at the warning on there, that too is for 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail also. There's really only about 2 storms that we're looking at here in the area right now. Third one out there, if you are including our Indiana counties out there across western Indiana. So we have 1 storm that is producing similar conditions out that direction, but things have stayed rather scattered, highly isolated in nature, and that is a good thing here for us because we're not dealing with a handful of these. and they're really behaving here for the most part. Don't want to jinx anything, but so far so good. That tornado threat not materializing here at this moment, but we're keeping an eye out for things. We're going to continue to track these storms as they move through the area here later on tonight. One thing I also want to show you is the severe thunderstorm watch that was issued across much of the area. You probably got a notification on your phone if you have our weather app, or you have another way of receiving some alerts as well. That's where you got it from. Here's that watch. It includes pretty much everyone in our coverage area, except for those I-70 counties. They're not included in there just yet. That's kind of the idea, is that these storms will focus here across the central and northern parts of the area, whereas when it gets farther south, probably weakens a little bit as it heads that direction. So we are going to keep an eye on things up here in the central and northern part of the area first. This watch goes until 11 p.m. Since we have eyes on the ground, I want to make sure, Jacob, let me know if you can hear me. Okay, Jacob is here. I'll zoom in. Yep, I can hear you nice and well here. So I'm going to zoom in on your location. Looks like you're just west of Rantoul. You've got a little bit of a storm right over the top of you right now. So, Jacob, I'm going to bring you full screen here in just a moment, and I'm going to let you talk about what you are seeing out there. So I will let you do your thing here. Let me see if I can get you completely full screen here real quick. There we go. Jacob, floor is yours. What are you seeing? What's happening?
Yeah, hey, Seth. I don't know if you could tell, but I opened the door to stand out and kind of feel things for a second. I had to put on a winter jacket because of how much colder it got here. We were sitting on the west side of town at 5 o'clock, and the storm tracker thermometer was at 90. I think it runs a little hot when it gets that high up, but to put it in comparison, we're down to 50 now, just a mile east of that, and 50 minutes later. Strong front coming on through. This is the look out the front right now. We're getting some rain here. I was trying to look to see if I spotted any hail. I don't see any at this point, and I'm not certain that these storms will get much hail out of them. But what I am much more interested in is the storm that's coming into Leroy and near Towanda. That may be in a slightly better place over the next little bit to get some of these bigger hailstones in here. And this is just that first round. So we're going to keep an eye on it here. But certainly it's a cold rain, and that's a little unusual for us. Normally you say, hey, the temperature dropped, your severe weather threat is over. We still have the chance for some hail, and so we'll keep an eye on those McLean County storms here. But if anything, it looks like on radar, actually, I can see the cold front now passing through Champaign, now south of Monticello, almost to Forsyth and Decatur, almost to Springfield as well. In fact, I actually can bring on that computer for you to take a peek at. So do you see that line right here? That is the cold front. And I back it up a little bit, see it surging to the south. So as you were mentioning, these storms are elevated. No tornado threat with them. And I'm almost willing to say stick a fork in the tornado threat the rest of the night, which is good news because none of us want to touch March Madness basketball out there as we're seeing here. So there has been some hail, but you can see that storm in Leroy. Maybe that's going to be one to watch. Towanda, another as that next cluster moves on in. But we're just watching this storm exit Rantoul. Again, we're sitting right about there, just on the west side of Rantoul. The Circle K is to my left. And what I'll do here is, well, Seth, is I'm going to just throw my camera forward here. I'm actually going to take off back to the south because I can see the back edge of the storm. That cold, stable air is here at the surface. But then as I take a turn to the left, you'll actually see the back end of one of those storms there. We are still able to tap into robust instability aloft. And that's going to be where we are able to get, that's where we're going to be able to get these hailstones to form from. It doesn't have to be surface-based, but we're seeing it in real time. It's been really interesting seeing the base of the storms as they roll on in, sitting what looked to be a couple miles up. I mean, it's not sitting close to the ground at all, and especially with that cold front cutting them off even more here in our favor. So I'll send it back to you here in just a couple seconds here, Seth. But in the meantime, what I think the plan we're going to do is kind of make our way back to the west towards Fisher and then watch those storms coming out of Leroy and Towanda and keep an eye there. But that's kind of our plan as we're kind of meandering around here. A cold storm chase from this point on, I would say. And that rain certainly felt really chilly as well. That's my report from the storm tracker in Rantoul. Seth, I'll send it back to you.
All right, Jacob, thank you very much for that report. We'll continue to keep an eye on what you're seeing out there and what you're up to and follow you here through the evening. I did like the point you brought up here about being able to see that front moving through on the actual reflectivity image, because I just looked at the Willard observations that come in every 5 minutes here. It was 84 degrees at 5:30. It was 73 degrees 10 minutes later. 3 minutes later, it was 67 degrees. So we dropped about 15 degrees in the span of 8 minutes. So that's how strong this front is. That's why you're seeing strong winds. We've also had a wind gust of 45 miles an hour reported here in Champaign at Willard Airport. So this front means business. It is a strong front, and it's still got some storms even on the colder side of this front right now. Again, we're watching that storm that Jacob called out there and the kind of central, now starting to get to the eastern half of McLean County. Watching these cores here, there's still, like you said, that instability to tap into that's not surface based. Now, that keeps that tornado threat away, but you can still tap into lots of instability, and especially when things are colder aloft and those winds are really strong aloft, you got this precip that is able to melt, freeze up, and that's how you get your hailstones to get bigger and bigger. The stronger the updraft, the more that stone stays up, the larger it has to be before it can fall out of the storm. So that's what we're going to watch here as these storms become elevated. But the good thing is that we are starting to see that tornado threat kind of diminish. And we kind of thought that might be the way things might happen going into the nights. Also want to bring in here, if you've got something you want to say, we've got meteorologist Adam Sherwinski over here. Adam, what you got?
Can you hear me right now? Can everyone hear me right now? How
How
about now? Can everyone hear me now?
I don't think I'm seeing anything on yours. Quick question. Is that one still off, your microphone?
No, it's on.
It's on. Really? Let me see here. He's on production 8. Talk again real quick, Adam.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Mic check.
I'm not. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
That's what.
Now you're good.
Okay, making sure.
There. Now we have Adam.
Cool. Mic check. 1, 2, 3. How about now? Can everyone hear me? See me? Not see me, but you can hear me, right? The disembodied voice of Adam Sherwinski. How about now? Can you hear me, Seth?
I'm not seeing the return on this one, but I'm seeing on your switcher. We'll
You'll have to get back to me then.
Yeah, we did just get a new switcher today, so I'm not 100% sure if microphone 8 might be good enough on that one now. I'm not 100% sure because we just got it today. So we'll try to see if there's an alternative, Adam. Maybe see if there's sports or anchor mic available for anyone.
Well, I was just going to say,
I'll just stand over by you while you talk. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Hey, I just want to give some reports out there. So far, we've had some wind gusts there from Rantoul Airport and Willard Airport right now. Non-thunderstorm wind gusts, or I should say thunderstorm wind gusts there, closer to 40, or not thunderstorm, excuse me, 49 miles per hour there at Rantoul, 45 at Willard, and about 61 for one of the assistant manager analyst. Can't talk right now. It's getting close to my bedtime, folks.
Yeah.
We've had some. You can see there's some reports right now there, Seth.
Okay, Adam, if you want to talk to Michael about what might be happening there with the fact that the new switcher, we don't think we're getting anything out of microphone 8. I'm not sure what's happening over there, but we'll work on that here. In the meantime, you can still hear my voice plenty good, which is definitely a good thing here because one of us has to be able to chat here while we guide you through some of these storms. So checking back here on a radar picture. Again, this isn't looking overwhelming in the slightest. We actually only have 2 warnings in the area right now, and that third one getting ready to head out there of our Indiana coverage area out that direction. So keeping things pretty isolated here for the most part. And of course, with anyone that might be tuning in here to our live stream, looks like we've got quite a few of you. Let us know where you're watching from, perhaps what you're seeing where you are as well. Chances are you're not seeing a whole lot, but for anyone that has already gotten a storm to move on through today, and maybe even some of that's blowing dust along this front, again, let us know where you are watching from, and we would love to hear what is happening out in your neck of the woods. We'll bring things back over here to the Weather Center, and I want to check in on some of these wind gusts as well, because that is starting to become a bit of a talking point here with these storms. So I'll bring that
1, 2, 3,
here, and we'll take a look at those together.
Hello.
We'll load this straight in here. Taking a second. Those are the maximum wind gusts of the day. There we go. This is the one I want, current wind gusts. So pop that on. And this is a really good illustration. I want to bring it back to you before those numbers were showing.
Before we get to them, Seth,
Yeah.
Can you hear me real quick? Can you hear me? Mic check. 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me, Seth?
Start talking again.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I'm not getting any audio returns here on this
That's
one. Which
right.
one was that one?
Sports.
No. Well, hang on. Try one more time.
1, 2, 3.
Yes. Okay. I got you now.
Okay,
Because
good.
it's on the same channel.
It's on the same channel. Okay, cool.
Cool. So we do
Thank you, Michael.
have Adam now as well. Thank you very much, Michael. I know that can sometimes be a little bit of a pain here while we're in the middle of stuff. But okay, yes, everyone can hear you, and we've got comment confirmation now too. Okay, back to the wind. Sorry about that, folks. You can see the wind direction here with these arrows. Notice the southern half of the area, those arrows are racing north. Northern half of the area, those arrows are racing south. That is where that front, or the leading edge of that front, is right now. That's why you're getting those winds to change direction. And it's also why you're getting those wind speeds to really, really ramp up too. Some strong gusts now here in the area. Nothing off the charts. We've kind of got that 25 to maybe 40 mile an hour wind gusts, a little stronger up there to the north where that colder air is starting to rush on in. So that is another component that we are dealing with here right now, is those strong winds. And if we look one more time at where that front is, we can do it again on the temperature side of things. And that is kind of the thing that is the most, it makes the most sense to anyone that isn't too deep into the knowledge of how all this stuff works. It's 64 in Champaign, cold fronts passed on through, still 80s here in a lot of the area. So that is where the front is. And the good thing is, we've been talking about this for a while. Once that front moves through, it's a different kind of threat for the night. It's those elevated storms. Elevated storms are much less of a, I shouldn't say that, they're a different kind of concern, and it really eliminates that tornado threat. So we definitely are happy to see that front move on through and kind of cut things off at the surface. All right, I want to kind of read over some reports here because I'm starting to get a few. Let's see. Jeannie says power pole split at Mulberry and fell in normal. Ping pong ball hail in Fooslin, says Connie as well. So there's a few of your reports in the area.
I know that WMBD is over there at Normal checking it out right now. So our sister station over there in Peoria.
Okay, perfect. That ping pong hail in Fooslin was reported at 6 o'clock exactly. So that was when that report came in. I'm also going to comb the weather service here real quick just to make sure that we are getting their reports as well. And I've got all sorts of messages coming on in here as well. In fact, let's see here. I guess, Jacob, yeah, you mentioned that you have a few reports. If you don't mind just kind of sharing with us what you've got sit your direction, or if you've seen.
Well, yeah, Seth, kind of watching that little storm that's splitting there. There's a cell kind of on the east side of Mahomet, and then a cell on the southeast side of Fisher. My computer kind of shows it here. So we're kind of moving. I'm getting ready to pull over because I think I might get a little hail here before all is said and done. So let me just pull off to the side. There's just one little cell that's kind of overhead. And so here's where I'm located right here. There's Dewey. I'm located right there. Oh, we just got Indiana. Yeah, okay. So that's where I'm located there. And not really sure if I'm going to get much hail, but you can kind of see the rain curtains that are there. I mean, the base of the storm is right there. It's so high up. And so that's pretty crazy to see where that's the case. So kind of also seeing that storm that's behind it through Leroy increasing a little bit. I think there could be some quarter to ping pongs coming towards Bellflower and Boostland. That's going to be my next target to watch that one come on through. And so that's what we're going to do as far as we're concerned here. So this is the view out the front of what we're looking at. Again, I can actually see those rain curtains over there just now, Seth, from that split. Let me zoom in for you, and you might just kind of keep me close by, but that's where there's some rain and maybe some hail falling in there that we might get a little bit at our location. Again, 1 mile south of the Dewey State Bank, if you're familiar with that. You take Dewey Fisher Road north from Champaign. That's basically Mattis Avenue extended, and that's where we're watching. So we'll see. I'll let you know in your ear, Seth, if we start getting a little hail, but that may happen sooner than later. Live in the Storm Tracker, south of Dewey, I'm Jacob Dickey. Back to you.
All righty, Jacob. Perfect. Thank you for that report and letting us know what's going on out that way and what's happening. Again, for anyone curious about where he is, he kind of told you there out towards the kind of Fisher-Dewey direction. We can zoom in right where he is here on our map. So we're going to keep an eye on him and make sure that we continue to get some reports from him as they come. All right, so nothing imminent here in our area, but there was a tornado warning issued out here across the very, very, very far eastern edge here of our Indiana coverage area. Is this Fountain County?
Fountain County,
okay.
But it's so far outside of our viewing area.
Yeah, so it is outside of your area, but just want to
toss the core of the storm itself. The part of the warning goes back into our viewing area, but the core of the storm where you would watch out for is going to be underneath Indy's jurisdiction.
Gotcha. So we were just kind of mentioning the fact that we said there'd be these storms capable of producing tornadoes, but we always sort of thought that'd be a greater threat out there in central northern Indiana, out there, maybe even northwest Ohio too. So that looks like it's kind of holding up according to plan. Hopefully things hold up according to plan here right now as well. We talked about some of these storms that are popping into the picture right now. Really got to watch out for the hail threat with some of these. We've got eyes on what's happening with Jacob over here in northwest Champaign County, but also right out here near the Royal area. Starting to get some pink into that core as well. So probably some pretty decent, probably starting to get up to that quarter-size hail within that storm if you're not quite there already. A lot of these storms, in fact, it looks like all these storms still warned for the very baseline severe thunderstorm warning criteria, 60-mile-an-hour winds, quarter-size hail. So nothing is jumping off the page here as far as these warnings are concerned. No tornado possible tags, no considerable tags where you've got stronger wind gusts closer to 70 miles an hour or larger hail. We are kind of staying on that pretty standard criteria here at the moment. So that is kind of where we want things to get at the very worst. We'd obviously like it if things weren't severe here in nature, but no more than what we've got right now would be a-okay with us. A lot of folks reporting in where they're watching from, what's happening. I like this comment. Sarah says, it's cold here. And it's probably what a lot of people are starting to feel right now as this front moves in. It was just like what it was the other day. Was it
Sunday?
Sunday? Yeah, I'm getting my days confused here. I'm not used to these 40-degree temperature fronts happening twice in the same week, but Sunday it was the same kind of way where it was mid-upper 80s in the day, and then it was 30s later on in the night. So just lots of weird stuff happening here with the with this front just making a huge change in the way things are feeling outside. One thing I want to show folks and show myself here, because I haven't been able to see it in a little bit, is just what our future track radar is showing here as we move forward in time. This updates every hour. Sometimes it does a pretty good job handling what's out there right now. Sometimes not so much. Looks like it's got that Indiana storm pretty good, but doesn't have a whole lot here in our picture. So maybe take this with a little bit of a grain of salt, whatever it does. But the general idea is that our kind of threat for those tornadic storms appears to be very low right now and doesn't look like it's going to get to a big scary place here at some point in time. But as we do continue here through the night, we can still have some of these storms that look like these cells on radar that would still, again, just kind of be mainly that elevated threat. We'll watch where that front is to make sure that is the case. But a lot of these storms that are coming here later tonight, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, this is going to be of that elevated variety. And it may be some training thunderstorms that may be moving sort of west to east along the line. There's some north-south component to that as well. But if you just kind of look at things as I play it here on Future Track, that's a lot of west to east movement. So you could have training thunderstorms that could then lead to maybe some flash flooding in some cases. I know a lot of places need the rain, especially up this direction, but too much rain when you've been dry for a long time isn't a great thing either. So we'll continue to monitor that threat, as that may start to become the thing that takes over here at some point in the night, is that kind of training thunderstorm effects. But within any of these storms where you're seeing those red colors, those orange colors, could still see some severe size hail in there, could still see some of those strong wind gusts. But again, all elevated stuff that is cut off from the surface and is not going to be able to drop down any sort of tornadic activity as it is able to make its way this direction. So kind of weird the way things have worked the last couple of severe weather events where you have the cold front, cold air makes you think things are over, and then it actually gets going again. That's just the way these fronts have been behaving here over the last week or so with increasing that elevated storm activity. I want to now see what we can see on our studio camera. And okay, let's actually look at Danville here. I'm going to point that to the west. I'll get that loaded real quick. That storm right on the county line there, the Champaign-Vermilion County line, is starting to look pretty good with that pink core really popping up. So we're going to throw on our Danville camera here. One of our radars here on the side is estimating perhaps over 3-inch diameter hail. So that has our attention. I'm going to bring up the Danville camera here real quick. I don't imagine, we're not seeing too much there as we look off to the west, but get ready here, Danville area. It looks like that storm is going to be heading your direction. And if I play things out here on my radar on the side, it does look like that core could be heading right in your direction. So don't be outdoors here if you are right now, or you know someone down the street that is right now, because there is a pretty nice looking hail core that is heading your direction. I'm going to zoom in again on that to kind of illustrate what I'm talking about here on the radar picture. But just heads up if you're out there in Vermilion County, especially there close to the Danville area here before too long, just north of Fithian, just north and west of Oakwood as well. You can see that pink core right there. This is really starting to grow here a little bit in the last 30 minutes. If we give this a bit of a loop here on our radar, you'll see what I mean. I'll try to eliminate a few town names there so that way we can see the storm itself. But it goes from not much at all to boom, some pink, and even some white starting to pop up in there. The white's where it starts to really catch your attention, because that is some pretty high reflectivity values. And this can be a little confusing sometimes too, because we're kind of between the Indianapolis radar, the Lincoln radar, so we're looking pretty high up. But by looking up in that storm, we're able to see what's going on in the upper parts. And if there's these high reflectivity values up there, what goes up must come down. That could make its way down to the surface. So again, out here between Collison, Fithian, Oakwood out that way, starting to see this hail core really ramp up, and that could lead to, like we said, that one radar product estimating maybe 3-inch diameter hail that is getting above tennis ball size. I believe tennis ball is 2 3/4. So large hail. Do not be outside right now. Make sure that you are inside. That's actually closer to maybe baseball size hail.
I mean, I could throw up the size chart if you want me to do that.
Absolutely, yeah. Go do that. And let me see.
Actually,
I think I can pop it up on mine, and I'll just have you narrate over.
Oh no, I've got it already up right now.
Do you have the ability to show your screen?
You're the one driving, but I can totally.
Yeah, because I think I've got me, I've got my Max, and I've got Jacob. So I've only got 3 spots to save. I'll just pop it up, and I'll just let you narrate it here.
That's all right.
So we've got that, and I will.
Yep, you already got it.
Bring that. Yeah, go ahead. Let's start talking.
Yeah, so right now you were talking about how big again? What size were we estimating? About 3 inches?
Close to 3 inches.
So close to 3, that's between baseball and softball size. That's pretty big. It's relatively rare, but as we mentioned before, the updrafts and these being a little bit more higher base storms, that's not as surprising, especially with the orientation of this cold front, how far south it's been diving through. But again, we don't get these very often. Nothing like what they had in Kankakee there a couple weeks ago there with the size of those, or around the Kankakee area, I should say, up in northern Illinois, closer towards Indiana, where we had some of those stronger storms not too long ago. And then again, the grapefruit, very rare, softball, very rare, but it's between that baseball, softball size. That's getting pretty big there if that comes to fruition. Remember, this is an estimation. That doesn't mean that anything's confirmed just yet. And sometimes some of those hailstones might melt a little bit before they make it to the ground. And once they get to the ground, they'll also probably melt a little bit too as well. So just keep that in mind, that just because we see it on an estimation doesn't mean it's what's happening. It's more of just a rough idea, because it will do some melting process before it hits the ground. Maybe not a lot, but it'll do some.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why these particular setups, especially here in March, it may be really warm at the ground, but it takes a little time getting deeper into the season for the air above to start to get to that warmer value as well. So there's lots of cold air above us right now, and that's what's allowing those hailstones to kind of survive a little longer than usual. Zooming back in here on our storm, again, anytime you start to see these white colors, you got to kind of squint to see them, but that is some pretty high reflectivity. That's either really heavy rain or, more likely in this case, some of that's a large hail as well, heading into parts of, it looks like that is, you're still getting part of that storm up there in Collison, probably not getting the worst of the hail, but maybe a little bit there. Kind of watching Oakwood and anyone on 74. If you know anyone that might be heading west on 74 outside of Danville right now, let them know about this. Hopefully they're able to get off the interstate here and just kind of weather this one through. But we've got that one heading right for the Danville area right now, and we'll bring up that camera here. We'll probably start to see things look a little darker here in the distance. Not looking too bad yet. Still a little fuzzy there on the horizon. So we'll watch that storm as it rolls in. We'll probably get a pretty good view. But, of course, we're relying on everyone here that is watching us as well to describe what you're seeing. But don't be out there in the middle of the storm to get us a hail size. It can wait until things are safe out there. But just whatever you're seeing, whatever you're feeling out there, please let us know. And we will get that relayed to everyone else out there as well. Breezing through here, some of the comments. See if there's any sorts of reports here at the moment. Yeah, lots of people commenting about how chilly it is outside and how it's not doing anything where you're at. Again, these storms very isolated in nature, not dotted up and down the entire area. So good news that there's nothing happening exactly where you are too. I'm going to hand things to Jacob here in just a moment. I want to show you all where he's at we zoom in on the radar, looks like, Jacob, you are on 136. You are between Rantoul and Fisher, and you've got yourself a storm that's about to head your direction as well. So I will pull you up here. I'll give you your image and we'll let you take it away. Go for it.
Hey, Seth. Yeah, we're at the Dewey State Bank right now, kind of sitting here and evaluating what to do. I'm looking west towards Fisher. I also have some big concerns for northern and western Fisher, west of Fisher, northern Champaign County. This storm also is trying to pick up a lot of hail, I think, with it. I think we're seeing a lot of hail kind of sitting and developing aloft with it. And so eventually, you're right, it's going to come down. So I've got a great deal of concern for not only Danville. I mean, that storm that's north of west of Danville is very impressive, but we might be having this storm west of Fisher do the same thing before long. You just saw a lightning bolt there on the camera as well as it's intensifying and heading our way. So we'll be right in the path of that sitting here in Dewey. That's about 3-4 miles west of Fisher. Got a little bit of time here, but I think we're starting to see storms really take off with that hail potential, and that's something that's concerning. So any reports that you've got, please message them our way, and grab something that's familiar that you can put. If it's a quarter, the hail's not quarter size, that still gives us reference, right? Do that after the storms. Do it after it's safe to do so. Here, I have gotten a couple messages about some power outages in the Danville area from earlier wind that came on through. There's been a smattering of those out and about as well here, but gonna watch these storms. I think we're starting to see things escalate a little bit more as we move on through here, and we'll be looking to see what happens. Again, radar is showing those estimates picking up. That's a trend, something to watch, but it's picking up because it's detecting hail aloft. What I'm noticing is the lightning is also picking up to my west. So you got that ice aloft to help create lightning there, and that's going to be a concern. So we may start seeing some pretty big hail reports in the next 15 minutes creep on through in Vermilion and in Champaign counties if things continue to progress in that direction. Live in the storm tracker near Dewey to the east of Fisher. Fisher's to my west about 3 miles. If you're not familiar with this area, I'm meteorologist Jacob Dickey. We will send it back to you.
Perfect, Jacob. Thank you for that report there. Yeah, this hail threat is really starting to elevate here quite a bit. And we're still on the Lincoln radar. So, again, aiming up really high in these storms. Look how much white there is. Usually don't see these big white colors here on some of these storms unless you have some of that really large hail start to move on in. So, again, if you are somewhere out here in western Vermilion County, out there closer to I-74, kind of there in that triangle between Collison, Oakwood, and Danville, this storm means business. There is going to be some large hail there within some of that as it continues to move off to the east, even as we switch things over to the Indy radar, which may be kind of right on that line. It's hard to tell which one's actually closer, but it's still got those pinks and purples up there in the core of that storm. So that is, again, where you start to really notice an uptick here in the strength of these storms. And again, our radar product kind of guesstimating up to 3-inch diameter hail upwards of baseball size. So that is certainly not what you want to be outside in. So make sure that you are in a nice safe spot here. And it's not a tornado warning, but kind of treat it that same way. You don't want to be close to windows. If there's this large hail that might kind of thump off the window and hopefully not kind of break anything here, but you don't want to be close to the outside of your house, just for an abundance of caution, making sure that does not happen. I want to show maybe my radar's hail estimate thing here. This one tends to kind of underguess things a little bit, but when you start to see these colors uptick a little bit, you start to get a better idea of what's going in. So again, this one right here may be underselling a little bit, but we're just going to throw our little tool down into that. This one's saying about 1 3/4 inch of hail. Again, probably underestimating it, but when you're starting to get these numbers to go up, you've got some pretty large hail. Even that would be closer to your golf ball size hail. So even that is something to contend with. Again, just outside, just off of 74 here right now, as that one is getting ready to march soon into the Danville area. We've got a new severe thunderstorm warning here that is continuing into parts of Champaign County. So we'll bring up our radar again real quick and spot that one here and let you know who all is in the path of that one. So that looks like most of the northern kind of 1/3 of Champaign County here. That's that storm that Jacob's out there looking at right over the top of Fisher right now. But even downstream, places like Rantoul, Thomasboro, maybe eventually Penfield, if it holds up that way, that is the next warning here with that storm that is currently right over the top of Fisher. Still just warned for 60-mile-an-hour gusts and quarter-size hail. we'll be able to see, especially from Jacob's perspective, how large that hail truly is here as it starts to move on in. Also want to give a handful of reports here because I saw a lot of people sending some in just a moment ago. I want to get these reports out here just real quick if I can scroll up far enough to find them. We had some power outage reports. We had some hail reports, and I think I've scrolled maybe just a little too far back. I'll work on getting some of those, but looks like Jacob might have another pretty good view of what's going on. Let me just pop up your picture again real quick, Jacob. And still on that same storm, but it looks like things are perhaps getting ready. I can really see, on the left side of your screen there, kind of the contrast there where some of that rain and even that hail is starting to pop on in. Kind of a neat little look there. Kind of describe what it looks like right there on the ground where you are.
Yeah, so Seth, what we're seeing, I think, is the storm kind of unloading at this point. And what I mean by unloading is all of that mass that's aloft and that elevated instability, it kind of lifts up and has a lot of water and hail and things like that there. And we're seeing it dump out pretty quickly. I'm trying to keep that camera turned as much as possible, but that left edge really stands out to me. It's been pushing to the south there. There's likely some big hail that's falling within there or about to, and in the Fisher area right now. So I would be very curious about that. Rantoul, Dewey, Gifford, you guys are next with this storm as it rapidly intensifies here, and it's going to come right over us. So we may start seeing some of this hail falling here in the next little bit. And if we do, Seth, I'll let you know. But I think we're just riding on a very fine line where things could get pretty intense pretty suddenly with some of these hail reports, both from Vermilion County and northern Champaign County here as those storms continue to work their way on through. And then there's not a whole lot happening further to the north and west, but more development. This is just round one, folks. We've got after 8 p.m. that next batch of storms to the north and west in the Peoria area will develop here. So, Seth, I'm kind of losing visibility there. You just see it before my eyes there. Kind of surge out and a lot of that rain coming down. So we will see what happens and provide you a report. Might need to check back in a couple of minutes once the rain starts falling and see if there's any hail with it. Seth, in the Storm Tracker, I'm Jacob Dickey. Back to you.
All right, it's great, Jacob. Yep, thank you for those eyes on the ground. That is exactly what we want here, to just be able to see what's happening within some of these storms. Speaking of which, there is one right outside of the Danville area right now about to move on in. Let's check in. And yeah, you can really start to see the contrast here in the sky as we look at that camera. Let me try to move it just a little bit. But the leading edge of that storm is as it's about to move on in. Things have gotten a little dark there. I can see the street lights are on right now, too. I don't think that was the case just a few minutes ago. But you can see the cloud motion. You can really see these things moving pretty quickly there across the sky. So, again, be prepared for that storm out there in the Danville area, as that one looks like it could be producing some pretty large hail along with it. I did find those reports earlier. I just want to pass them along. Quarter to ping pong ball size hail in Fooslin. That was from Addison at 6:14. So that's been about 7 minutes ago. Another report as well. No power near Bismarck. Wires down on State Route 1 near Danville. That report was from Marine. So thank you again, everyone, for those reports. We are very appreciative of what you're able to provide us, because you are where you are. We're kind of at the mercy here of some of the stuff that we can see. So always appreciated to have some of those reports sent on our direction. All right, so let's jump back on our radar picture here real quick. Zoom in here on a few of these storms. And yeah, like we're talking about here, golf ball hail in Fisher, according to Jacob. Sounds like he was talking to someone just outside there. So golf ball size hail in Fisher, and that core is right over the top of Fisher right now. Of course, radar behind by maybe about a minute or so, as it is kind of in between scans. But this is going to continue to move up 136, so out there towards Dewey, maybe eventually out there towards Rantoul as well. Be on the lookout here for this storm. As we put it in motion, you see it's pretty much got that strict eastward movement to it. So it's just going to ride 136 off there to the east. So hopefully we can kind of make sure we can get through the storm here, as there could be some traffic there on the roadways. But that one racing east there towards Rantoul at the moment. And this one out closer to Danville as well. We're starting to get that core of the storm really approaching town there again. Northwest side, maybe starting to feel some of the action here before too long. And again, just look at those white colors there now just north of town. So this one is definitely impacting parts of Danville. I want to really quick take a look at the Danville camera, and it looks like Jacob is starting to get his storm as well. So nothing happening imminently here on our Danville camera. I will bring up Jacob's camera real quick, though, because it looks like you are starting to maybe get some of that hail as well, Jacob. What's it looking like out there?
Yeah, hey Seth, we're starting to see some small hail here coming down, but it's coming down pretty quick, and that's the first sign there that you see. So things are going to start to get fun here in a little bit, I think. Again, there's the Dewey State Bank sign, and you can see the hail bouncing in the grass even there. So we're getting some of that right now. Looking at it, to me, I'm seeing a few pieces that are up to quarter size. Most of it is less than that, but that hail core is pretty close to us here. And so we'll see if we're able to get any bigger pieces. But it's crazy to see that. Can you guys see that bouncing back there in the grass? All that hail coming down?
Yes, yep, just bouncing right off the
Seth,
ground.
are you able to make that out?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, so starting to see it pick up maybe a little bit more here. But I had a guy in a truck pull up next to me, and he said he was driving from Rantoul to Fisher. I'll kind of show you. There's a group of us that are parked under the awning at the Dewey State Bank right now to avoid the hail. And he said that his wife called and said they had golf ball sized hail and to not come into town. And so he pulled over here to the bank with me and came up and was like, yep, we're going to avoid going to town. And so that's what we're seeing here. Again, some traffic's driving by and the roads there, but that hail was coming down there for a little bit. So that's what we got. Not seeing any more, but it could just start picking up here pretty quick. It's kind of even on the sides here, like, there's a nice little smattering of it showing up in the ground there. Let me fix that focus. But we'll be seeing this hail and see if it increases any more. But some golf ball size hail reported with this storm in the Fisher area. I'll send it back to you guys, and I'll let you know if we start getting any more hail. But in the Dewey area, I'm meteorologist Jacob Dickey. Back to you.
All right, awesome, Jacob. Thank you for keeping a nice close eye on that storm for us up there here in Champaign County. Now tuning back here to our storm just on the north side of Danville. Starting to get some of your reports here as well. A lot of people saying hail in Danville. Jacob said about ping pong, different Jacob here. Jacob in the comments near Danville said ping pong ball size hail just near Danville as well. Getting reports up there close to the lake as well, some of that hail. And let's see here from Grace. A shed was blown over and destroyed on Ross Lane in Danville. So that would be a pretty big report here with some of those strong winds as well. So we'll work on confirming that one as well, but at least reports of a shed being taken out here. So again, all your reports are very appreciated. And now we're really starting to see the storm move right into Danville here right now. So I will bring this camera full here and we will watch this storm together as it moves on in. And in a lot of people's cases, or at least the people there in Danville, this is similar to what you're seeing right now. So some pretty heavy rain. Looks like the worst of the large hail threat is going to end up on the north side of town there right now. But we are seeing that strong rain as this storm pushes on through. Probably getting some pretty strong winds in there as well, as you're seeing kind of that sideways wind blowing on in there through the streets in town. So hunker down in Danville. You got yourself a pretty impressive storm moving through, especially if you are on the north side of town there. There's a lot of power packed here into these storms, lots of instability to tap into. That lets those thunderstorms grow large and tall, allows those hailstones to spend plenty of time inside the core of the storm before finally they're large enough to overcome the strong winds in there and fall out of the storm. So looks like it's just some pretty intense rain, maybe some small hail here, according to our camera in Danville, but lots of reports here of those hail sizes in Danville at the moment. Lots of pea-size reports, just kind of depends where you're at in town. I think we also had a report from an EMA in our NWS chats, also said dime-size hail in Danville currently. So a variety of reports. Again, though, if you're on the north side of town, that is where things are likely a lot larger in scale. We'll turn it back to radar here real quick. We're going to zoom in on that and see the core of the storm, again, right over the north side of town, still keeping those high reflectivity values up that way. And as we get the newest scan, looks like this one's about to make it to the Illinois-Indiana line. I've got another report here of some golf ball size hail in Danville. So again, variety of different reports depending on what part of town you're in. Looks like we got a 2-inch hailstone as well, according to Jacob, in Danville. So that's when you're approaching that egg size hail. I think it's the best comparison kind of between that golf ball size and not quite up there to those larger ones like the tennis ball size. But still impactful. When you get to that 2-inch mark, that's when things start to make a little bit more of an impact as those stones make it onto the ground. Also, our storm now moving through Rantoul, so parts of Danville, northeast side of Danville, and now Rantoul getting hit pretty good here by these storms. You are likely seeing at least some small hail in that storm there in Rantoul and parts of Thomasboro there on the south end of that storm. Again, that one's racing east down 136, heading towards Penfield here before too long. So get ready for those storms that direction as we are dealing with a hail threat here right now. I want to give a zoom here across the area just to show the entire coverage area because we cover a lot of people here in our central Illinois area. Not a whole lot of storms out there right now. Again, kind of focused in Champaign, Ford, Iroquois, and Vermilion County. What I want to do real quick, I want to bring up a picture that Jacob's got here on his computer in the storm tracker. This is that 2-inch hail report in Danville. You can see it there for comparison. That looks pretty good. Again, that kind of looks like your golf ball size hail there in that hand there. So we're getting to that 2-inch size, close to it. So that was a report, again, from Danville as well, as we are getting a variety of different reports there from outside of town. So thank you, Jacob, for letting us borrow your system for that. Pretty impressive stuff happening here within some of these storms. But like we said, when you see these purples, these pinks, these whites, you're starting to get a lot of return here on the radar, which means there's probably a pretty large object in there, which more often than not is the hail that is really growing in size. Eventually going to be a problem here for some of our Indiana viewers, if there are a handful out there heading towards the Covington area. So just be prepared downstream of this storm because you're able to see exactly what happened in that storm as it moved through Danville. There was golf ball size hail in that, and that's likely not going to change too much as it heads your direction. So that storm very soon heading out of the area. Keeping tabs on these ones up here in Iroquois County as well. These ones don't look quite as powerful, but still probably bringing some heavy rain, maybe a little, I shouldn't say little size hail, smaller size hail up that way as it starts to cross 57. Let's take a look here at our Champaign camera in the studio, looking off to the north. I think I've got the Danville one still pulled up here, so let's switch that over to studio. We'll be able to follow that one as it moves across the northern part of the county. We're still looking a little to the west there, so let's swing that around and see what it looks like here from our point of view in Champaign. And yeah, you can clearly tell where the core of that storm is as we pan things to the north and east, kind of looking down Neal Street there. And the stream will update here in just a moment. There you go. You can kind of see the differences, kind of the more tannish orange color on the left side of the screen where we still have rain-free skies. Then as you look on the right side of the screen, that's where that rain shaft is, possibly some of that hail in there as well. That's where you start to get those dark blue colors that you really can't see too far beyond there. Again, looking northeast in Champaign, up there closer to the Rantoul area, out there towards Thomasboro as well. It looks like we might get clipped by something here on the north side of Champaign. There's a little cell outside in Mahomet right now as well. Doesn't appear to be as strong as this main one that we're looking up here to the north and east, but you might start to get some heavy rain, definitely if you're in Mahomet right now, and potentially here on the north side of Champaign, up there by the interstate exchanges there on the northwest side of town. Again, that's the storm I'm alluding to right there, just outside of Mahomet. And we do have a little bit more activity off to the west, another cell kind of there south and west of Mansfield out there. So lots of these little popcorn storms. We'll see how they're able to interact and evolve with one another here as the case is right now, these elevated storms still producing that hail threat as we thought they might. And that one storm now has pushed outside of Vermilion County, now almost exclusively across the border over there into Indiana. So looks like things have calmed down there in Danville and central Vermilion County. Next up, though, in the Champaign County storm, down 136 again, out there towards Penfield. Still going to get some pretty good-sized hail with that storm once it gets your direction. These are moving at, this storm is moving at 50 miles an hour. It's warned for that quarter-size hail, so just keep in mind, got a little bit of giddy up to it, got a little bit of pace to it, and it will not take too long for it to get there. But like I mentioned just a moment ago, a lot of us not really worrying about anything happening right now. In fact, I'm willing to guess there's a handful of places that might still have a little sunlight out there and still baking in those 80-degree temperatures, probably thinking it's a super nice evening. What in the world's going on? That front is racing now to the south. You will start to feel the changes here before too long. But yeah, there's lots of calm conditions here across parts of the area. And I just want to pull up the temperatures here real quick just to continue to track where that front is. And look at that. It is really started to race south. In fact, Mattoon and Charleston about to get in on the cold front action here soon as well. So still 82 in Paris, 82 Mattoon, 83 Decatur. But that cold air really starting to push on south. in a quite fast manner. So that is eliminating, again, the surface-based threat with some of these storms. That's why these storms in northern Champaign County are providing that hail threat, but we're really not concerned about any sort of rotation at the surface with them because they have been disconnected with that cooler, stable air, but still plenty of instability from the top of that cold air on upward, where there's still plenty of that warmer air up there as well. All right, taking a look at your comments to see what you are letting us know here with some of your reports. And looks like we maybe just got another warning here. New severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Vermilion County. If I had to guess, that is more likely than not that storm that is soon to exit northeastern Champaign County. Let's zoom on in here real quick and see if... Okay, there's another storm up there in the northern part of Vermilion County. So this one out closer to Hoopston area, Rossville hitting as well. That storm getting ready to move across there. So not seeing anything too serious in those, but maybe up to that quarter-size hail as well. So as that moves across Route 1 there, we will start to see those impacts be felt here soon as well. So northern Vermilion County, that's why you got to keep an eye on some of these storms that don't look all that wild on radar, because in the next 5 or 10 minutes, they can really start to strengthen there in those cores. For example, that one east of Loda there in southwestern Iroquois County, starting to get a little bit of a perhaps hail core on it. So lots of little storms that become bigger problems here in just a short span of time. And that is the case here. These storms are really, really small and isolated up here across northern Vermilion County, but still making their impacts felt. So again, if you're out there south of Hoopston, out there towards Rossville, Henning area, that's where that storm is. New severe thunderstorm warning for you. You likely got notified of that warning here within the last couple of minutes. All right, so coming through reports again. Another report, golf ball size hail 15 minutes ago in Danville. Oh, let's see here. Got a handful of people asking about any sort of tornado threat here through the night. That has drastically lowered here. That front is still moving out here. We'll keep an eye on it, see what it does as it moves south. But really, where these storms are forming right now and where that front is, they're not aligned. They're not connected at all. And you need them to really be on top of each other for that to happen. So tornado threat really diminishing here, if not kind of completely eliminated in the case of a lot of different locations here. But that doesn't mean your storm threat is eliminated. Still expecting lots of widespread storm activity here through the night as these storms kind of form more of a line and get a little bit more of that wind and hail threat to form as a result. So we'll zoom on in here, keep an eye on the entire area. Again, a lot of you, not too much to worry about here right now, but that storm, northern Vermilion County, you might get a little bit of a double dip here of storms if you're in maybe Potomac out there towards Henning, because this storm in northeastern Champaign County kind of heading on that same trajectory. So we might kind of get just a bit of a 1-2 punch here with a couple of these storms out there, again, closer to Rossville, heading out that direction in northern Vermilion County. Let's see here. Anything new from the Weather Service? Here we go. West side of Danville off Henning Road. Kevin got a pretty good picture here. Let me see if I can pull that up into our side computer here and give you a good look at that. So let me work on that here real quick. But we got even a ruler right up next to it, so that way you were able to see the exact measurement. Again, that's one just recently here. Let me get the location on that here real quick. Yes, that was west side of Danville off Henning Road. That looks to be just around, maybe just a little short of that 2-inch in diameter mark. So close to that golf ball size hail there in Danville from a little while ago. That seems to be the very common report, is that golf ball size there with that storm that passed through earlier. So now we'll bring things back to our radar picture and continue to track these storms as they move on off to the east. Again, some pretty decent storm motion on them. That one in Champaign County moving at 50 miles an hour off to the east, so it's got some nice pace to it. Hopefully, if you are underneath that storm, you are out of it here before too long with the way that is moving and the way that one is trending. Okay, so it looks like we're going to clean up here. A warning here, just a moment. That one on the eastern part of Vermilion County there with Danville, that storm has passed through. So even though the warning box is still drawn up, it's going to expire here before too long. We'll see what they do with this storm in northeastern Champaign County that, again, is racing to the east along 136 there. We'll see if they continue that warning into Vermilion County as it moves that direction. looks like the core maybe has come down a little bit. Again, we're kind of moving away from the radar, so we're aiming up higher in the storm. Not to suggest that there can't be some of that larger hail down there a little more, but the thought usually is with some of these storms, if it's strong aloft, it's going to be strong at the surface as well. If you start to lose that strength higher up, then you're probably going to see that storm weaken here with time. So just maybe a trend to watch for. We'll see how that one evolves as it moves off to the east. Really a hyper local problem here for us in the area, though, as far as it's Northeast Champaign County, it's parts of Vermilion County, it's parts of Iroquois County. That's really it as far as where we're seeing the storms right now. So just very isolated storm coverage here at the moment, which we are A-okay with. We thought maybe there would be a couple of these cells here in the area that could produce maybe some rotation, but we are very glad that's not the case, but certainly something to watch out for. You can see some of these other cells across parts of Indiana too. That's kind of where more of the main event is. That's where some of that larger hail is. You can kind of see more of those kind of orangish, reddish glows around some of those boxes, even that tornado warning just a little bit west of Muncie, Indiana as well. So that's where ingredients have lined up just a little bit better. And we won't complain about that because we are all right with things being on the kind of just 1 to 2 inch hail side of things. Again, that carries its own impacts, but it's better than the 2+ inch hail that they might be seeing out that direction here right now. Okay, let's take a look here. Any new comments coming in? Got lots of people asking, just kind of asking / reporting on where they're at here right now. Again, this is a very isolated problem up here in our northeastern counties at the moment, and hopefully it stays that way. Might see a little bit of a lull period here before too long. Once these storms kind of exit off to the east, there might be just a little bit of quiet time before more activity starts to race in here in the colder side of this front, kind of the wake of this front. We'll see how those eventually interact. But here at the moment, those storms producing some of the larger hail are still in our neck of the woods. And again, we'll see as this one has now reached Penfield right now. That northeastern Champaign County storm is now up there into the Penfield area. So you're probably getting yourself a pretty good shower there right now, probably a good amount of thunder, and maybe even some small hail being picked up in that storm as well. Again, that Danville storm now officially out of our central Illinois area, but over there in Covington, Indiana. Again, if we got anybody listening here that is in Covington, Indiana, you still have that strong core of the storm that is just west of town there, according to our reflectivity picture. So you could get maybe that 2-inch hail, maybe a little larger as well. So that's going to be the same kind of thing that we saw in Danville earlier when we saw things materialize there in town from our sky cameras. And the newest scan has really moved things there. So probably just passed over through Covington, now heading towards the Veedersburg area with some of that large hail. All right. Looks like got to really squint here because these highways are kind of the same color as the warning boxes sometimes. Looks like there's no longer a warning here in Champaign County for that storm that is now right over Penfield. And let me double check to make sure if there's any plans on continuing a warning. It looks like just a cancellation of the Champaign one. So hopefully that storm continues to flatten a little bit, continues to not really pose a threat, pose too many problems, because it has come down on radar here quite a bit lately, not quite as strong as it looked at one point. And once that storm kind of wanes and moves out of the area a little bit, same with the stuff up here in parts of Iroquois County out there near Woodworth, just west of Milford. If we can get these to kind of pass along, we kind of might be able to hit that little in-between period here that looks to happen between this first and second round of storms. So fingers crossed that that is the case and that we don't have to worry about these here for too much longer, at least with this first round of storms. We'll bring back up here our sky cam and look north and east of town here in Champaign. Follow that storm as it moves off north and east. We'll angle things that direction here. Looks like it's taking a second for SkyCam to load up here. That would probably be why, because I didn't hit the load button. That usually helps to load images up there. So now we're looking north and east of Champaign. Again, that storm looking less impressive from our vantage point here in Champaign as well. So that's a pretty good indicator that things are not quite what they were at one point in time. So that is good news for anyone downstream of that one. Got a report from Emergency Management in Vermilion County. Looks like $50 to ping pong ball sized hail at their house in Danville from that storm earlier. So again, very popular report, golf ball sized hail there in that Danville storm. Also got a report of 1.5-inch hail, so closer to that ping pong ball size hail in Tilton over there in Vermilion County as well. So lots of those hail reports. And in fact, let me bring up some of our storm reports here. They actually plot as the National Weather Service takes those in and kind of publishes them out there to the storm report. So I'm going to bring that up here real quick, and you'll be able to see where all those hail reports have kind of come in from. So we'll plot that here, let radar load up. And you'll see, yeah, plenty of these circles here. These little things right here, these blue circles with little white circles in them almost look like snowballs. Those are your hail reports. So again, there's been plenty of these reports here in the area. I believe this thing goes back maybe 24 hours, but all of these are from these storms today. Didn't know if there was any hail reports from those little storms last night that were also popping up on here, but this looks like all stuff today. Even a gust report here in Champaign. That was up to 45 miles an hour there at Willard Airport. So again, north of 74, that's where your hail has been. Those are where those reports have been. And it looks like we've even got that damage report. I believe this was perhaps one where there were some down lines. Let's check in on that one real quick. Yep, power poles damage looks like in Henning there from that storm that moved in. It looked like there was a time of report was 5:30, so that was a bit over an hour ago when some of those other storms were still in the area. Okay, let's zoom out again, take inventory of what's going on. Also, I'm going to check in on some power outage reports because I do see a handful of those popping in here to our chat. I'll see if I can get some numbers here on some counties in the area, and we'll see what those are up to. But look at this radar picture. Things are just really starting to empty out here. There's just very minimal land coverage here in the area, if that makes sense. These storms are not covering a whole lot of real estate, even though they're still bringing some impacts with them, especially that storm over there in Indiana. They're not very big storms. They're not very kind of organized in a line here, and especially the ones here in our area have really come down in intensity. That one warning in northern Vermilion County looks like it's that storm starting to escape the warning box as well. So liking the way things are trending right now, liking what we're seeing here with these first storms. We thought, and this was still the case, these storms had the higher potential today to bring some impacts. Now, it looks like they didn't, which is good. Things kind of behaved. That front pushed on through pretty quick. We were not able to tap into those worst-case scenario conditions. We didn't get those rotating storms. We didn't get the largest of hail that was possible. Well, we still did get some pretty large hail, but just kind of good to see that things did not live up to the maximum potential here with this early round because we were a little worried, we would have to really ramp up some coverage here, let people know what was going on. But thankfully, that was not the case. Okay, I'm starting to get a handful of messages here, so I'm going to keep radar screen on here. I'm just going to kind of comb through a few of these while things are a little quiet and relay any sort of reports that might be coming to the area. So let's see here. Looks like Paul in Danville almost looks like he's got snow on the ground with how much hail was at his place there. Doesn't look too crazy big, maybe dime size at the biggest, but again, kind of looks like snow in some places where that hail was on the smaller side of things, but a lot more frequent in number. So I got that from Paul in Danville. Thank you for that, Paul. I got a couple other messages here. Let's check in on these. Yeah, another one from Kathy north of Danville or northern Danville. Kind of just, again, looks like some of those Dippin' Dots, almost some of that small hail in large quantities out that way. And another report here from Kalen, some hail also north of Danville that looks to be maybe kind of that nickel to quarter size. So, yeah, that Danville storm was impressive. And it sounds like a lot of you guys got some hail from that one, even outside of the main core of that one. So that one was pretty impressive. It was a nice wide storm, still is. I mean, look at this thing over here as it is now heading into Veedersburg along 74 there in Indiana. It really hasn't toned down a whole lot. Maybe doesn't have the same colors jumping off the pages earlier, but it's also getting closer to that radar. So still an impressive looking storm out that way. And still some of these pink cores here or there that we are keeping an eye out for when these storms are now moving over into the Vermilion County area again, close to some of those areas that were already impacted by some of these storms. So call us in. I remember mentioning your name at one point, maybe another quick storm heading your way. Maybe Fithian Oakwood looks like it may stay just a little bit north of you, but Potomac, Henning, maybe Rossville as well. I'd be ready for another storm to hopefully quickly move through your direction and bring a few more minor impacts that way. Okay, let me now bring up some outage reports and see kind of what some numbers look like here across the area. See if there's any high volume reports here in any areas. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. I'll let you look at my other computer here where I'm getting these reports shown up on. So we're just going to kind of hover the mouse over a few of these counties. You see kind of some of these more blue shades. That is where some of the higher volume reports are coming in. We actually have about 250 customers without power in Piatt County. Champaign, just 137, so not sitting too bad. A lot of those probably on the north end of the county. Vermilion, though, look at that. Over 1,000 customers without power in Vermilion County. So that storm, probably that Danville storm, really kind of rattled things around there for a little bit. So that's where you're getting those high reports from. Ford County looks to be good. Not a whole lot of reports coming out of there. Same with Iroquois County. McLean County, nothing crazy out that way as well. Curiously enough, we have a lot of outages in Sangamon County, over 1,900. I'm wondering if some strong winds maybe caused some problems out that way. Was not expecting to see Sangamon County end up with that many outages, but that tells me there was probably some strong winds out that direction. So we'll monitor that and see what we can hear out of that. But didn't really ever have a storm out that way, so just a little surprised to see that. But that also goes to show you that maybe these these winds along the front are pretty good in strength here. So that could be what led to that. That's just speculation here at the moment. But like I said, there was not ever a storm out that direction. So that had to be part of what that was. All right, it's good news. All storms do not have that severe warning on them here. So we are all sub-severe here in the area. I guess that storm out there in Petersburg still has that warning on it. But once that one's lifted, all the counties here that we highlight on the map will be warning free. And that is a good place to be, because I just saw Melissa share here in the chat. We want to watch the Illinois game without fear of anything. And that kind of looks like where we're heading. There could be some more storms here tonight. There will be some more storms tonight. That is where the more widespread stuff is likely to take place. But the good thing is the threat, at least for the moment, appears to be obviously trending down here. So we like to see that. I do want to show a version of Future Track here real quick that could kind of illustrate things here for the rest of the night. Because, again, this was round one. There's more storms on the way. We're not completely out of the woods, even with severe caliber storms. But this, again, was the round that looked like it had the higher ceiling. It definitely had the higher ceiling. And if we're able to get through that without any problems or any more problems than what we've already seen, that makes me feel good here about the rest of the night as well. So let's pop up a Future Track here. It still has some cells here in the area in places where it's not actually happening right now. So again, with some of these rapidly refreshing models, they maybe struggle to tell what's going on right at the moment. But as we get deeper into the night, again, closer to 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, we might start to see storm coverage increase here a bit across the area. Might have to watch out for a couple of these down here, maybe closer to the Mattoon, Charleston area, Shelbyville, Taylorville, because the fronts maybe won't have completely, I say that front's about to pass through Mattoon right now. So it looks like this front's going to completely wipe through here in probably the next hour and a half, in which case these storms popping up here are probably going to be elevated as well, but maybe similar to what we were seeing here right now in the area with some of those large hailstones within some of these storms. But look how linear this becomes. That would promote strong winds. That would promote some hail threat and hopefully some good rain. Hopefully not too much rain, but some good rain. Again, look at this west to east movement. It does move south here a little bit, but just kind of fix your eyes on like Champaign County here, for example. Look how long it could be raining here later tonight. You start to get some more rain in the picture at 10 o'clock, still raining at 11, still at 12, still at 1, still at 2. I mean, that's a handful of hours in a row. There are 4 hours in a row of moderate rain, maybe some heavy rain mixed in there too. So I might have to watch for some flash flooding up here through the nights as well. But a lot of places need the rain. Like I said, hopefully not too much. But when we're dealing with lots of rain, that tends to worry me a little less here than some of these other threats that persisted with these storms tonight. So you might have storms all through the night, but I think the severe weather threat really looks to wane here as we get perhaps past midnight. There's still some cores there within some of these storms that may lead to some of that smaller hail, near severe hail, near severe winds. But this threats looks to wane a little bit as we get deeper and deeper into the night, but still that potential for a little bit of that severe weather here in the area, even after this first round has moved on through. Another check of temperatures to see where that front is. Again, this front is just diving here across the area. We're down to 55 now in Champaign, still 82 there in Mattoon. Sometimes the sensors in our system can be just a little bit more delayed than if we look at them here on the actual sites. It is 81 still in Mattoon, so that one is accurate. Let's see Decatur, what it might be saying. Yeah, so it says 83 for Decatur right here, but the Decatur airports on that page, it says 57 degrees. So the front has passed through Decatur as well, getting that cold air, getting that windy air as well that is moving through. So big changes happening here across the central part of the area as that front races on south. Let's even take a look at Springfield, see what it's saying over there at the Capitol Airport. So Springfield says 63 as well. So again, this can kind of be behind a little bit. We're at 63 in Springfield and those upper 60s in Decatur as well. So that cooler air now making its presence felt. And it is going to be a little bit of a shock to the system if you haven't been outside since this afternoon, thinking it's still 80 degrees, 90 degrees. Not the case. In fact, we'll have to verify some things because sometimes the official high temperatures and the record-keeping sites kind of delay into the next day when it comes to seeing what the actual temperature was. But some places may have seen the hottest March day in the history of those stations. We can't track back to 200, 300 years ago to know that, but in the last 125 years for a lot of places, this may have been the hottest day we've ever had in the month of March. So wild to think that. And of course, we're seeing what that is doing here with some of these storms as well. Haven't checked in on Jacob here in a minute, and he just heard that stat we said. I know, Jacob, you were kind of looking through maybe some numbers at one point as well. These hot temperatures, they were something pretty wild today. Give us some of your wisdom. What do you know here? What stat do you have to share with us?
Yeah, so if you can, Seth, go ahead and pull up the map that shows the highs for the day. And I'm curious what Springfield got to. They hit 90 at one point. I don't know if they got across the board to 91. By hitting 90, it's the second time since 1880 that Springfield has been at 90 degrees in the month of March. They last did it in 1909. And so that's a long time ago. 116, 119 years, some number like that. A long time ago. Yeah, and so then a long time for that there. So if they hit 91, they tied the all-time record high set back in 1909. That's when they hit 91. Getting to 90 was only the second time in the 90s in the month of March. And to think, I'm in the Storm Tracker now. The Storm Tracker sometimes reads a little hot when you get above 85 degrees. It says it got up to 90, but now it says it's 48 out. And I am rolling into Armstrong, and I'll be on my way towards Potomac here in a little bit. I'm going to make my way towards North Danville. I've heard about some damage over that way and some of those hail reports, some trees down, power line down, shed blown over. So we're just going to go and investigate and follow these last storms on out before round number 2 picks up later on this evening. But that's what we're doing, and that's what we've got. You got that?
Cutting in just a little bit, Jacob. Can you repeat that?
Yeah. Do you have that high temperature map by chance?
Yes, I did.
Close by, or?
Yep, we had 91 is what they reported there at the airport in Springfield. I think it said 93 in Lincoln too. I know Ed at the Weather Service there said that was record by like 7 or 8 degrees. So yes, 91 in Springfield and 93, I believe, in Lincoln.
And then what were some of the other upper 80s there that we had reported by chance?
Yeah, let's bring that up here again real quick. So we had 85 in Champaign. It was 88 in Decatur, 91 in Taylorville, 85 in Mattoon. So a lot of mid to upper 80s, but those 90s closer to I-55. Jacksonville got to 92 today. That's the second warmest one on the board, second to Lincoln there at 93. So just wild stuff here. But those temperatures you see in June or July, here in March.
Yeah, that's right. So Champaign-Urbana, we've got, of course, you talked about between Willard and the Illinois State Water Survey. If the Water Survey got to 85, I think Willard is the one you said they got 85, right?
Yep.
So we'll see if that officially crosses. But the all-time record for the month of March in Champaign-Urbana at the Water Survey, that goes back to the 1890s, 1888, I think, actually, is 85. Decatur was 89. Did we get to 89 in Decatur?
Got to 88, just one short.
I was surprised to see this. It's only 80 in Danville, and then 89 in Mattoon, Charleston, 89 in Effingham. So we were close in some spots, but yeah, seeing those low 90s. And the thing too, Seth, I think is when you talk about these storms and them being so elevated, typically, if we were in the 80s near 90 and we were talking severe weather, it's in July and August, and we've got dew points that are in the mid 70s, maybe even upper 70s. That muggy swamp air, that's the juice that helps those intense summertime storms. But didn't have that this time. It's still quite dry relative to the points of the temperature. So being out here 30, 40 miles away easily with the bases of them very elevated. Again, that squashed that tornado.
Okay, Jacob, I don't know if you can still hear me. We're starting to lose your connection here a little bit, so we will check back in with you here in just a moment. But kind of going to the point he was alluding to here just a moment ago before it cut him off there. Yeah, I mean, these temperatures we see in June and July, but you also see dew points into the 70s around then, and you might not know entirely what the dew point is. It's just a level of moisture. We kind of use a degree to talk about it. Technically, it's where the saturation point is met. So if the temperature and the dew point are the same, you've got some fog at the surface, or if the temperature and dew point higher up in the atmosphere are the same, that's where you get your clouds. That's where you start to get your storms to form. But either way, we didn't have those dew points into the 70s today. We had them into the 50s and 60s, the upper 50s and low 60s. And if we look at the map right now, even in some of those places where you still have that humid air, it's 58 in Effingham, it's 59 in Mattoon. You're just not seeing that same level that you would there in some of those summertime storms. So that is exactly why we did not really have some of those storms that we call lower based storms. The closer this number is to your temperature, the shorter amount of time it's going to take for air to rise and form those clouds. When your dew point and your temperature are really spread apart, it takes a long time for them to kind of meet that point and then form that thunderstorm. So the higher the base, the farther away it is from the surface. The farther away it is from the surface, the less likely it is to be surface-based. So there's kind of a little bit of a science lesson there for you if you kind of care to learn a little bit more about everything that goes on here when it comes to predicting storms and stuff like that. These numbers all mean something to us. It's not just something we show you to show you the comfort level in the area. These dew points make or break these setups sometimes, and lead to what we end up seeing there as far as what's in the storm, what's the maximum hail size, is it going to be able to rotate and stuff like that. So we were able to see plenty of that. All right, still working on getting Jacob's connection back here. We really don't have a whole lot of action here in the area right now. I know Jacob said something about he was taking a look to see if there was some damage reports out there in the Danville area, and I'm sure there is, but I'd like to give him a chance to at least catch up there and see what's happening out that direction if he's close here. Let me see where his last location was reported. That'll kind of help me make a couple decisions here, because we really don't have a huge need to actively cover things here. I'm kind of telling you a lot of the same stuff when it comes to what's happening later tonight, but there's really not much happening right now outside of that storm that is just right there in Vermilion County once again. There we go. Okay. I think we've got Jacob back. At least I can hear him a little bit. I'll give it about 30 seconds here for that connection to kind of reestablish itself, because it's still just a little bit glitchy, but there we go. Now his location's updated. So he is not that far away from Danville. It looks like he's over there in Vermilion County along 136 right now. So I'll give it just a second here for that to update. And it looks like we've got a pretty steady connection with him now. So with that being said, sorry about the interruption there, Jacob, but let's send things back to you. Do you remember where we left off here?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, actually, it seems like every time you drive through Potomac, I always lose that cell service. It kind of drops there, so that doesn't surprise me. Potomac now, 5 miles, about even know how many folks are online, but maybe we can tap our toes a little bit just to kind of see if we can get some of that, because I've heard a few reports come in of some of that damage with power lines down on the north side, and it'll just be interesting to take a drive in that direction and see what's going on, where that large hail course swept on through too. That went through like Johnsonville and West Newell and the Vermilion County Airport down south towards Meyer and Lake Vermilion is kind of where some of that large hail was reported there. So that's what we're doing here. We were talking about, I think, that dew points and temperature spread and whatnot. Just seeing that warmer, yeah, you don't get that swampy instability. It kind of felt a little humid, but it didn't feel like, there was a difference in my mind of how it felt, a big difference from March 10th with the Kankakee tornado to how it felt today. It was warm and it was a little sticky, but you didn't have that humidity at the surface to bring those storm bases lower to the ground. I wish I could take a turn here and slow down, but I feel like it's better if I just keep moving. I'm looking off to my left. Inches in the clouds. Sun's pretty and there. So that's something I know you've been watching in the studio. After I get in the Danville area, maybe stop for a bite to eat. I'll be heading back on 74 West to keep an eye on those storms there. But nice to have a little lull here at this point. And thankfully, I don't think we had a whole lot of big reports. There's probably just some Gulf here in north of Oakwood near Newtown, and then in the north side of Danville into North Danville and up by the Meyer area. Seems like those are probably where the biggest hail reports came on through. And it's 48 in the storm tracker. At 5 o'clock, I was sitting in the upper 80s. So, I packed my winter gear, essentially. I don't think we're going to get snow, Seth, but to go from the 80s to the 40s in a little bit, that is an incredibly strong front. And that air also, that cold air is stable air. So that stable air kind of being able to attach to the ground in the form of tornadoes of rotation. That's why we just aren't concerned about that from here on out. Rolling into the town of Henning now. Seth, you ever made your way over to Henning in Vermilion County? Nice little town here. And we'll be continuing to head off to the east. Looks like I'm turning in a couple of miles to get on Route 1 and head south into the north side of Danville. And we'll try and check back in with you about 10 minutes out, according to my GPS. So, Seth, I'm in the storm tracker, and I don't know, you willing to do a little tap dancing, stretch this out to see if we can get anything before long?
Yeah, I think we can do that. There's enough to still talk about here, so we'll get a little time for you to check things out here and see what's happening. I'm sitting in my chair on camera right now, so that shows you how things have really started to chill out here a little bit. So that's when you know you're at a good spot at this moment in time. Whenever I'm able to take a seat here, my legs are a little tired. I think I've been standing the entire time since 4 o'clock. So yep, we'll let you head that direction. We'll let you see what you can see out that way, and we will check back in here in about 10 minutes or so, or when you holler in my ear, we will keep things going here. All right, thanks again for that. And I will now bring back our radar picture here. We've still got a little bit of a storm that is moving into Vermilion County once again. That has been in Vermilion County here for a little bit. Got to really put on the microscope here to check in on this storm, zoom in on it, because there is not much else happening here in the area. So let's see if we can find that Danville camera again. There it is. Let's load it up, and let's let you take a look at that one here full screen. So we can kind of see what's happening there. Kind of the same spot that first storm was. Obviously, this one not nearly as concerning, but kind of the same spot of town, probably getting more of the rainfall action here with this newest storm as it moves on through. Right here on our camera, we're not seeing too much there, but we look just off here. Let's see if we can angle this thing to the north, see what's the view here on that part of town. So we'll swing it around here. It looks a little darker that direction. But nothing too overly concerning. Maybe just another heavy shower that way. And that is about it. Let's see perhaps what Champaign looking east looks like. We'll try that out here. Let's grab the stadium camera. We haven't looked at the stadium camera here yet. Hopefully the eastern side of the stadium. No, it's not in our way at all here. But a little tiny pole is. Let's see. Let's look up here a little bit. It just looks a little fuzzy up there in the sky. Sometimes you can kind of tell the tops of these storms, and you can kind of see it here a little bit with those striations. I just realized I got the wrong camera on here. That would be helpful. When I'm steering a camera, it's different. I don't know what that Danville camera's doing, just going around like a sprinkler right now. Okay, there's your Champaign camera looking here from Memorial Stadium off to the east. Again, you can kind of see the tops of those clouds a little bit looking out that direction. And not much else. Kind of gets a little fuzzier as we point it a little more directly to the east. And yeah, not seeing anything with too much detail out here on these cameras. I'm gonna check back in on that Danville camera. That was hilarious. I don't know what was making it spin like that. It's still doing that. Okay. I think I had it stuck on a motion heading that way. So rest assured, the Danville camera is not going to spiral until it takes off the pole and ascends into the skies. We've got that taken care of here. Okay, let's look now. I'm curious to see what this looks like. We had very isolated storm coverage. Let's see what the rainfall totals perhaps looked like here with some of these storms, because this is a part of the area that hasn't benefited a whole lot from the recent increase in activity we've had here over the last couple of weeks. There have been lots of storms here, but it's kind of been the southern half of the area that's benefited the most from that. So let's see if we can help out some of our northern counties that are still in extreme drought here in some places. So we'll give this product just a minute or two to load here. Sometimes it takes its time with some of these rainfall totals. So we've got a swath from about Bloomington, normal area, all the way out here to the east, stretching towards perhaps north side of Danville there where some of those storms were. These green colors, upwards of an inch, maybe closer to an inch and a half here in some of these pockets. So some nice rain for a place like Rantoul, just kind of outside of the Paxton area. Looks like they got a pretty nice little bit of rain there as well. Also closer to, I believe, kind of Collison area and maybe closer to Potomac. In fact, let's just zoom on in here and look at some of these spots. So, yep, right there near Collison, Potomac, maybe closer to that 1 inch mark. Rossville, upwards of an inch. Hoopston, maybe over an inch and a half there just east of town as well. So, love to see that. Hopefully, we can add to that here a little bit later tonight instead of getting more general impactful storm activity. Hopefully, we just get some nice soaking rain. Maybe some of you heard the rumbles of thunder last night with just a couple of those isolated storms. I love nights like last night, and hopefully things behave themselves tonight. We get another one like it where you just hear these rumbles of thunder. You hear the rain on the side of your windows. It is just the ultimate weather to sleep in. You just get to relax. You just get to let the natural noise of everything outside kind of put you to sleep there. So hopefully another night like that is in store. But again, watching out for maybe another line of storms to kind of form and move together here before too long. You can still see some leftover activity up here in the northwest part of the state, even as far west as what looks like to be Hannibal, Missouri out that way. Maybe just a little bit of a line that direction, kind of the same motion as some of these other storms as well. Let's take a second to look at this system as a whole. Let's take a peek out here to the east across Indiana and into Ohio. Haven't been a whole lot of tornado warnings, but there have been a handful of severe thunderstorm warnings that have had some elevated risks to them. Perhaps the kind of 2 inch plus hail, some of those more considerable reports here with some of those storms. So lots of stuff happening out that way. They've also got that enhanced risk like we had here across parts of the area today. So that's what they're dealing with right now. That round moving through that direction, stretching all the way from Danville with these storms all the way as far east as parts of Pennsylvania have a severe thunderstorm warning. So pretty long system here with this cold front pushing south here across the area and making a huge difference in how it feels outside. Again, let's check those temperatures. We'll probably get a pretty good update on some of the central cities in the area like the Champagnes, Decatur, Springfields, and see what their stations are reporting now according to this. There you go, 54 Champaign, 57 in Decatur. Still warm in Mattoon, still 80 degrees, but probably going to see that change here in a very short amount of time. Let me see if I can pull up Coles County Airport. Yep, they're still at 81 degrees, so that one is live in real time there. Yeah, this front just raced across the area. There was some thought maybe this front wouldn't be too far south right here at the 7 o'clock hour, and we might still have it across I-74, stuff like that. But that's what we were rooting for, was for this thing to race south and wipe out the biggest threat here for us with those storms. So that is a look at your temperatures. Let's look at the wind gusts here in the area, see what those are up to. We'll pop that on here. Haven't got anything crazy reported. We've got 25 to maybe 40 mile an hour gusts. Got a 43 over there in Taylorville, so you might be starting to get some of those winds along the front as well, as those look to be pretty strong here ahead of this front. Oh, let's see here. Let me check and see what this was. Oh, there we go. So me and Jacob were just talking about this. A record high temperature of 92 degrees was set at Springfield, Illinois today. This breaks the old record of 81 degrees set in 1991. So that was today's date. It also became the warmest March temperature. It did surpass that 91 on March 21st, 1907. So we did break a record over there at the airport. Sometimes the daily high temperature kind of becomes a little more official once we hit kind of the 7 o'clock hour this time of year. That's how it is at Willard Airport. It'll give you like a maximum high temperature for the day that doesn't pop up on the 5-minute feed. So 92, we did it in Springfield. We had the warmest March day in recorded history, which dates back pretty far. That's close to 150 years worth of history, probably 125 as well. So there you go. Records set in Springfield today. How about that? Let's see. Sounds like it's getting a little noisy your way, Jacob. I'm starting to get some of the heavy rain out that way as you make your way into Danville, and you're kind of losing some daylight there too. So have to imagine this storm isn't too impactful right now, but that heavy rain and kind of losing the daylight there, maybe not the most fun combination in the world, is it?
You know, it's not terrible out here right now. There's some lightning and some rain. I'm never going to complain about the rain with where we're at in this part of the area. I just crossed the North Fork of the river there, and it looked like it was up pretty good. That's some good news. One thing I think about, too, is kind of looking at things. It looks more clear above me, Seth. I think what could be happening is actually where the storms are on radar, because the base of the clouds is so high, it seems like the storm is maybe east of me a mile, but the rain is still following at my location since these storms are moving to the east at 50 miles an hour. And that's what we're dealing with now. So I don't know if that makes sense to you, but, it's kind of interesting to see it play out where, above me doesn't look as dark as it does to the east. But, those cloud bases are so high, I guess that could be a logical thought for that here. So we're coming into Danville now, and we're on the north side, passing that first stoplight coming up here as you come down Route 1 into town. And so that's where we are. I haven't seen anything out of the ordinary quite yet, but I think there's been a few reports of some things of that. I'd heard of fewer wind damage in the east. Those hail reports down by the lightening up as it kind of quickly moves off to the east. And there's been some flashes of lightning, but kind of winding down this first round. As expected, between 7 and 8, it kind of end, and then maybe we get a little break, and we'll see what forms in the next one there, Seth. So give me another minute or two to keep moving along, and I have another report for you coming up. Danville, I'm Jacob Dickey. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Jacob, for that. We will keep close eyes on if you see anything your direction. So we will check back in here before too long, but let's pop back up here the radar picture, just kind of where we go to by default. And it is very stable here in the area. There's very few storms at all. In fact, that little storm he was at there in Danville, probably the last bit of actual active rainfall in general here in the area. Although there could be a few of these little showers up there closer to Livingston County, McLean County as well. But we're okay with this. We're okay with these just little showers, bringing some of those nicer bouts of rain to the area. We are definitely A-okay with that. With that said, let me pop up here. We're going to look at a couple of different versions of Future Track here that kind of walk us through the night, because we've been very busy here with this first round that we haven't really looked at some of the newest stuff. So this will be a different model run than what we've been looking at here recently. This one, too, still has more activity in the area right now than what is actually true. So take it with a grain of salt. But it's got that heavy line moving on through, maybe some strong winds along that line. But that's a nice, moderate to heavy rainfall will definitely be something that would be nice. So that's one version of Future Track. We're going to look at 3 different ones here. Here is Future Track number 2. This one way overdoing what's happening here in the area right now. So do not listen to this one, because it is, looks like it's ahead of the game here right now for sure. So again, this is why we comb through various different models, because sometimes that model I just showed you is really good, but right now it's not handling what's happening at this moment in time very well. So we're not going to really trust what it says here for the next couple of hours. Then there's this one that refreshes every hour. It's not doing too bad. It's still got a couple of cells here in the area that aren't actually out there right now, but it picks up the general idea pretty good that we'll be quiet here for maybe the next hour, hour and a half. Then we start to see a few storms pop up here in the region and eventually become more of that linear style, where we'd have lots of training thunderstorms, some moderate to heavy wind here, or moderate to heavy rain over the same spots in the area. And eventually that'll all kind of come down here a little bit and just bring some light shower activity here to the area. So hoping we can get to that here at some point in time later tonight. Hopefully that's all it does to us here, but we will stay mindful of that. Also, want to bring to attention again, I think this threat, I haven't heard a whole lot about it here lately, but we did and still do have that blowing dust advisory until 9 p.m. I haven't heard a whole lot on this front since earlier when things kind of started up here in Champaign, Ford, McLean County, but that's still out there for the next hour, 45 minutes here. So we'll keep an eye out for that. Just keep in mind there could be some of that blowing dust here in a couple of spots in the area, but haven't really seen too many updates on that here recently. So hoping that's not the same problem that it was at one point in time. Let's give our power outage map a refresh here, and we'll kind of look at some numbers again. I'll just kind of say these out loud to you because the map doesn't really look too much different than earlier. Still almost 2,000 outages in Sangamon County. Piatt County has close to 250. Vermilion County, upwards of 1,000 outages. Champaign, 190 outages being reported. Everyone else about 50 or below, except I am seeing one here for Macon County, 379 without power. Again, some of these numbers are a little high in some places where you didn't have storms. Just kind of impressive there what some of those strong winds may have done. All right, I can see Jacob's view here in the background. Jacob, you ready to let us know what's happening? Yep, I say take it away. We got your screen here.
Sounds good. Cool. So we're here by the mire, and I'll be honest, I'm not certain if this was damage that happened today or not, but I had heard about this report. Somebody had mentioned about it, so we're kind of out of the parking lot by the mire. There's a pole that's wrapped up in there and a big chunk of tree down. Doesn't look like any active power lines. It might be one of those, I'm not sure what kind of pole that is just looking at it there, but you kind of zoom in. Maybe someone's able to provide a little report and say, hey, that's what this was, or there's been a number of storms over here, so it may have been a storm on a different day as well. But that's kind of some of the first that I saw. It's not a widespread issue by any means, but I did also notice there were some shingles that were kind of lifted up on one of the buildings nearby here. It kind of looked like it was not sure what kind of business that is, but a little bit of minor roof damage for that. So some wind did blow through. I've been getting a number of people. I was just checking my phone sitting here while I was waiting on you. They were saying, yeah, we had some wind come on through here about 5:30. And I think some of the wind reports actually were maybe the front coming through, because when I was up in northern Champaign County, I had a power pole that got damaged at the base and kind of pushed over at a 30 to 40 degree angle over the road. And the Willard Airport reported 45-mile-an-hour gust. The tree itself does not look healthy. So it was probably not severe wind. As I zoom in there, Seth, sometimes you look and see, but you can tell there's some rot that's in that tree as well. But came down and caused a little bit of damage here in the Danville area. So that's my report. I'll keep driving around, but that's what I was hearing about. And we'll see if there's anything else in the area, but it seems like for the most part, business as usual. I haven't seen any hail on the ground either. Sometimes you'll see hail sitting in the grass. When I was about Kankakee, I mean, it was crazy seeing that. We are not dealing with hail quite that large, but still we've got that next potential round that might try and sneak through. So maybe the night's not done yet, but this initial first round has so far, besides northern Champaign and Vermilion County, about where we thought it would be, has been up to golf ball size hail with some of those storms. That's my report for the Storm Tracker here in Danville. I'm meteorologist Jacob Dickey. I'll send it back to you.
All right, perfect, Jacob. Thank you for getting out there and taking a look at some of that stuff. We'll continue to just kind of linger around here, see if you can find anything else there in town, because at the moment, again, that storm activity is in that in-between period right now. So we're between rounds 1 and 2. And we'll kind of take this nice little break while we can get it here and kind of comb through some of the stuff that may have came in that first round of storms here late this afternoon and into this evening. Also, let's see here. We will get a new updated outlook from the Storm Prediction Center at about 8 o'clock or so. We'll kind of see what they decide to do here with kind of the different layers. We're probably out of that enhanced risk here if I had to guess with this next update, but we'll kind of see what their thought is on some of these storms here later tonight. Again, our best idea is that there could still be some severe hail in those storms for sure, and some pretty strong winds as long as there's still that elevated instability. But that threats the ceiling not quite as high as what we saw here with these first storms of the day, which really didn't hit that ceiling here in the area, but it did partially do that out to the east across Indiana and perhaps out there to Ohio, where at least we're seeing some of those kind of higher level warnings out that direction. So yeah, we were able to get through things here without too much happening. We do have outages. We do have, like we said, some power lines down, some trees down, stuff like that. But that's expected here with about any severe weather event that you get. So certainly not anything out of the ordinary as far as that is concerned. Okay, let's take a look at let's go to the damage reports here. I know we've got plenty of hail reports. I want to see some of the wind reports here in the area to kind of just study maybe a little bit where some of these strong gusts, when they happened, and what they may have done here to some places. Because like I said, there's a few places that weren't touched by storms that have a lot of outages here. So let's take a look. Like I said, Macon County has close to, I think it was 700 some outages. So let's drop our pin right there on that wind reports. So the Decatur Airport measured a gust of 47 miles an hour. That was about exactly an hour ago. So 47-mile-an-hour winds, not anything crazy strong, but there may have been some pockets of gusts stronger than that up and down the line, the front there as it moved on through. But again, Macon County did not get much of a storm, if a storm at all. I don't think we ever had anything out that direction. But we'll revisit the Willard report once again. We got a gust up to 45 miles an hour here a little less than 2 hours ago. Up there in Rantoul, what did we get wind-wise up there? We got a gust at the Rantoul Airport up to 49 miles an hour. So some strong winds that way as well. Kind of looks like we're just settling in that 45 to 50 mile an hour range. But again, this could kind of just be, again, like what it says here, non-thunderstorm wind gusts. This one catches my eye a little bit, though. There's a Mesonet station, 59-mile-an-hour gust. And that one was claimed to be non-thunderstorms. That one seems pretty strong. That one's a little bit of the outlier, but I believe it here. It was pretty strong here with some of these, winds along the front as it moved on through. So yeah, there was that on the west side. Let's look at the northwest side of Vermilion County up here, closer to Rankin area. Just south of there, a gust of 50 miles an hour. That was a thunderstorm gust, though, so within an actual organized storm up that way. And lots of hail reports as well. You can see that's with these blue circles with the kind of white dots almost looking like snowballs in them. That's what those are. And a lot of these were between that 1-inch mark and that 2-inch mark here, with perhaps upwards of 2 inches in a couple of these storms outside of Danville. Let's drop in on some of these. I'll keep it from reading on the screen here, but I'll read it here to the side. We had 1.5-inch hail on the leftmost hail report you see there. And as we look to the next one there, we had 1 3/4 of an inch. So closer to that golf ball size hail. As we head up to the lake, those two reports there were 1.5 inch and 1.5 inch. So $50 to ping pong ball size hail up that direction. Like I said, that was a very popular report there, was that kind of golf ball size hail. And then as we cross the border over here into Indiana, what was that one right here? Let's check it out. That one was, just 1/2-inch hail. So that one wasn't that big of a deal at all as it moved out that direction. Okay, so those are some of your damage reports here in the area. And nothing too much more than, again, these kind of stronger thunderstorm, non-thunderstorm related gusts, and some of that 1 to 2-inch hail was all that we ended up seeing here with some of those reports. Okay, let's see. I'll show you where that front is again here real quick. I also am just going to kind of combing through here on the side to see what sort of reports might be coming in here from you, from the Weather Service, just from all of our different sources here that we can consult with, just to make sure we didn't miss anything here. I'll just read a direct quote from the National Weather Service here. They says our mesoscale analysis team, just kind of a fancy way of saying the people studying kind of the smaller scale details here of this system, has pointed out that over the next 2 to 3 hours, there will be enough wind shear present in the low to mid levels due to a strengthening jet that will be able to tap into some of the instability and produce a few hailstorms. Tornado threat is quite low as we head farther south in the evening, but a few isolated wind gusts could become strong with hail cores reaching the ground. Fancy way of saying that, the too long didn't read version of saying that, kind of what we've been telling you here a little bit lately. There's still strong winds in the upper atmosphere. There's still a way to generate storms in the upper atmosphere. We're just not going to see kind of the same higher caliber ceiling impacts that we could have here with some of these storms. So I'm kind of thinking along the same lines there as the Weather Service, as far as still a severe threat, but one that is much more toned down here as we inch our way through the evening. but still enough to keep that severe thunderstorm watch here for many of us. Let's bring that up again here real quick. I haven't shown that here in some time. They have not canceled any of the watch here, and that is for a reason, because sometimes you get that cold front to pass through, you're like, yay, everything's over, no more severe weather possible. There's a reason they haven't done that yet, because the second round very well could lead to some more storms that would be considered severe, could bring those 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts, could bring that 1 to 2 inch hail. This watch is in effect until 11 p.m. tonight, so it won't last any longer than that if we had to guess, but here for the next couple of hours, even though we're in an in-between period right now, it's kind of like where we were at 3:30 today. We got that watch. There was nothing out there yet, but we got that watch. It's almost as if we got kind of a new watch here with this one. It's laid out there right now despite nothing happening at this moment in time. That's the purpose of a watch, to let you know hours before the activity ramps up. So that's why we are keeping that here in place. Let's hop back over to our stream comments here. And again, the traffic here in the stream has kind of quieted down here too, just because, again, there's nothing really going on here right now other than just some older reports. Let's see here. Anything new? I do want to look at one report here. We did have what looked to be a funnel cloud report over there in Indiana. Someone just mentioned one of the places over there in Indiana. So I just want to take a look. I saw that and I never really pointed out exactly what that was. So let's get that pulled up back here. Let's get our storm reports pulled back up, and we'll see where that report came from. Looks like this is just east of Fountain County here. I kind of lose my county names once we get outside of ours here, but let's see what this one was. Looks like a funnel cloud, possible funnel with debris. Okay. Near those roads out near Alamo, Indiana. Okay. So that was the only kind of tornadic report. And that storm was tornado warned at one point in time out that direction. That's all I'm seeing there. Oh, some of the reports in our Indiana counties. Again, that was just east. What was the hail size in Petersburg there? 1.5. So again, that's ping pong ball size hail there in Petersburg, home of Chief Meteorologist Kevin Leidy, of course. But yeah, I think we touched up on pretty much all our reports here in the area. So good news as far as that is concerned. Okie doke. It is now 7:30 here on this Thursday evening. Round one is behind us. We are awaiting round two here, which should be coming later on tonight. But the good news is we talked about, with basketball on CBS and with these chances for storms that maybe could have produced a tornado at some point in time. That was kind of the main threat, because a lot of people are going to be watching games. They're going to be hanging out, enjoying their evening here, especially after a nice warm day. They're kind of just thinking business as usual. But with those storms that were out there, there was a chance definitely that we could have had higher impacts than what they ended up being there. So just kind of a little bit of a setup that, people are lowering their guard, kind of watching, the stuff they would watch on a normal Thursday night. But thankfully, these storms did not interfere too much with that. But obviously, some places without power that are feeling the impact of that a little bit. This is interesting. I don't think I saw this earlier. There's a wind gust report down here was that Lawrence County? Was that today? There's a 44-mile-an-hour non-thunderstorm gust from, was that 5:30? Okay, so that one's been down there for a minute. Interesting. I'm not 100% sure what could have caused that other than just strong gradient winds, because that's well out ahead of that front, and that was 2 hours ago. So, okay, interesting. That is by far the southernmost wind gust report here we have in the area. So maybe let me look here. Just out of curiosity, that was at the Lawrenceville Airport. I want to see if that was kind of an outlier, because that was just a little surprising. Not that we have too many people, I don't imagine, down there in Lawrenceville right now listening to us, but this is more just me being curious than anything. Let's check it out. Lawrenceville, Indiana. What's that airport code? We want KLWV. Okay. Again, just out of pure curiosity here. Yeah, there was. Okay. Interesting. Again, it's been windy all day, but get up to 43. Okay. So that one's a little below some of our other gusts that we had, but just interesting to see how far away that one was. But, yep, nothing too serious out of that. Okay. We got Ron here asking, still 80 degrees in Charleston. More to come later tonight. Yeah, it's pretty warm there right now. And like we've been saying here for just a little bit, yeah, there is another round of storms coming here tonight, but you're about to see your temperature drop here before too long. It does still say 80 there on the Coles County Airport. Let me see what the 5-minute observations here is showing on the side. It has dropped down to 72 in the last 5 minutes. So I think your front is starting to pass on through. Not going to eliminate your storm threat, but will eliminate your threat of getting much in the way of surface-based action. So good news on that front, no pun intended, that you are getting stabler air to move your direction. So with that being said, we still got you on the other side, Jacob. Can you still hear us? Yeah, that's kind of what we're doing here at the studio as well. Just kind of hit that point where things are completely quiet and we're just kind of in our in-between period. It's not all bad to have that peace and quiet here, is it?
No, I was trying to figure out what I was going to have for lunch or for dinner, I should say. So that's what I was more focused on at this point before heading back to the west. Yeah, but looks like a little quiet period. It's actually interesting because the temperature's back up to 52 right now that I've come into town. The lowest I saw was 47 north of town, but we've just kind of been in those upper 40s, low 50s. And what, the wind chill values are supposed to be in the 20s by tomorrow? Is that, I mean,
yeah.
I think I have some words for that, but, we'll just kind of leave that alone and pretend it's not happening. We get warm again soon. It's been active for just severe weather in general around here the last couple of weeks and even the last couple of years. So just kind of doing the job, but was considering a bite to eat, and we'll see where that goes before long. So if you hang out, I know you're probably getting close to signing up, but you might see me go through a drive-through before long and have to figure out what I'm getting. So that's all I got. What about you? Back to you, I guess, or
yeah,
we'll send it to you, and
thanks.
maybe we'll see you later on the digital stream.
Yep, I was gonna say we'll probably wrap things up here in just a moment. Just want to make sure that you weren't looking around, thumbing around for places to look at there for any sort of damage. Didn't want to cut you off before you had a chance to see some more of that stuff. But I'm with you. I'm getting a little hungry right now. It'd be a nice time to just take here a little bit of a break. And again, things are out of the area right now. No storms, nothing of that sort. No crazy action, stuff like that. Temperature's starting to drop. So yeah, we are heading to that point where I think it would be probably a good idea here for us to all take a little bit of a, hopefully a break here, an intermission, and hopefully we don't have to do a whole lot of this again here as we get deeper into the night. But certainly right now, no real purpose to keep the stream going around since we've checked in on all the damage reports. Looks like any reports from our viewers are going to slow down too. Looks like we've kind of studied everything we need to. First round is behind us. Cool air rushing in. Elevated threat for storms will continue here through the night, probably picking up again, maybe closer to 8:30 or so. Just kind of a rough guesstimate there based on some of our future models. So with that in mind, everyone is all good here for the moment. I'll show this here again real quick. I got a handful of people asking if we're in the clear here for the night. Not necessarily. You're in the, I don't want to call it clear for the worst of it, but that's kind of the best way to put it. There's more storm activity that could come here later tonight. Lots of elevated action could bring some of that small hail to the picture, but this is much less concerning than some of the stuff we had earlier today. So definitely no worries there. Just some moderate to maybe heavy rain at times, maybe some training thunderstorms. But that wind and hail threat will be the only threat here to watch through the night. And we'll be all good here once that rolls on through. So still a chance for a stronger storm or two, but much less concern here with these storms tonight. But we will keep you posted in the event that changes. Okay. That being said, we've got you covered here through this first round. You know what to expect here for the second round now. We are going to go ahead and wrap things up. So for meteorologist Jacob Dickey, I'm meteorologist Seth Bonoff. If we need to see you again, we'll have another stream here later on tonight. But the hope is maybe things just stay nice and quiet. We've got our 9 o'clock newscast on 49. That's going to stay perfectly on time. Have no clue when that 10 o'clock newscast is going to start. It's not going to start at 10. We know it's going to start at 11 at the earliest. That's what it says in the TV guide. Maybe later than that, depending on how the next game on CBS goes. I couldn't tell you what the other game on CBS is. I don't know if it's the Arizona game or not. Besides the points, the next game on CBS after Purdue, Texas is the one we'll be waiting on. So you'll hear from us on Channel 3 then. Check in at 9 o'clock on X49. That'd be a good way to kind of see what's happening here with that second round. But all that being said, thanks for joining us here tonight. And hopefully all goes well here for you for the rest of the evening. Stay safe. And if we need to see you again later, we will hop back on. But for now, we'll say see you later and enjoy.